the Palace of Speed. Early on in this race.
Welcome to Spec-5 World Tour. It's round 9 from Road America of this iRacing championship that always brings such close and thrilling racing in the Mazda MX-5. Road America is a great track to bring these cars to because of its 3 long straights that really promote some of that slipstreaming, that close pack racing that is so characteristic of this championship and of this style of racing. Bringing you live coverage of qualifying and then the 45-minute race here on HJBC. I'm David Haynes with Devin Peters, Michael Derby. Devin, how are you?
Doing great and stoked to be at America's National Park of Speed and looking forward to some good racing today. Always good to come to America and visit Canada's corner.
Imagine being one of those 5.4% of people who think that this isn't in the Midwest. Confusing graphic that I saw earlier today, but qualifying will be quite interesting today, and that's just kicking off now. You can see the drivers on their outlap to start their first of 4 flying laps because Road America is a mighty big lap, 4 miles, 6.4 kilometers. I think you're going to have to be pretty quick smart to get around for 4 flying laps and then do the tyres last for that kind of distance, still giving their peak of performance?
Yeah, that is really the question, and a track that is perhaps simple in the shape of the corners if you look at it from overhead, but pretty tough to get around well. You know, you got to nail every single corner and do it right. It's a pretty mild day out there, about 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the air. 77 in the air, 80 on the track. And from what we've seen, that would indicate this season that the tires ought to be in good shape pretty quickly. Looking pretty overcast out there, though, it must be said.
Sure is. And as we get into qualifying, if you've got a friend or a teammate you're trying to follow along with, HJBC.live has your live timing. Here's Michael Chase. He's very aggressive with this, trying to get some temperature in as he approaches Canada corner, not too far away from starting the first flying lap of this qualifying, but a really aggressive and deliberate tyre warming strategy happening there.
Yeah, that's that would be a very exciting way to drive down that straight.
You definitely feel alive. So it's the run out of this final corner that's pretty critical as far as setting up the qualifying goes, because then it is full beans flat out up this hill to the start finish line, and to start the first of 4 qualifying laps. I think in practice we're seeing lap times about 2.5 minutes, so 4 of those would be about 10 minutes. I think they will just all get around for 4 flying laps, but definitely no time to reset or anything like that.
Interesting early story is Joshua Soto has had to stop on his way to the line the first time around. He came out of the final corner and got it all kinds out of shape, and decided rather than starting the lap, he'd hit the brakes and start again from the pits. So Soto making an early mistake that might put him on the back foot for qualifying here.
If that's the case, he now doesn't have time for 4 flying laps, because as everyone else was starting just then, there wasn't 12.5 minutes. There was more like 12 minutes on the clock. Here's Brett Marshall, Heartland Autosport. This long run downhill from turn 3 to turn 5. Somewhere in the middle there's apparently a turn 4. Not that I've ever seen, but who am I to go against what Road America say about their cornering numbering? And now back up the hill a little bit.
Yeah, head around turn number 6, of course, and 7 into the hurry downs. Really fun little track to drive around in Miata, must be said. It's flowing, it's fast. Lots of opportunities for overtakes around here. I'm looking forward to it.
They've got a cheese sponsor and a hot dog sponsor. What a dream. One day maybe you and I will reach such glorious and delicious, prestigious heights.
Hear, 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 hear. We'll see also who's going to get the first times in. Pretty strong looking final sector from Eugenio Pellicci there, but I think that was on his warm-up lap, not on his flyer.
Yeah, it's the qualifying lap so far from David Staub that I think is most impressive out there. But we're about to get the first of the times in a little bit. A lot of the drivers around Canada corner, around the sort of tail end of the lap. Pellicci.
Ooh, Paulo Coimbras had a bit of a drama through Canada corner that time. Gets 2 tires on the dirt and then just gather it up.
And he's not far away from completing this lap as well, but because of this, just a little wide on the exit, but kept it mostly within bounds. Heading towards the start-finish line now, but we've already had a couple of times, and to the top goes Michael Chase, then Tom Sanders, then Michael Coates, then Mitchell Peake, Odyssey Adams Jr. Where will Paulo Coimbra go at the end of this lap? Best lap time currently a 2:33.7, and Paulo Coimbra is 2:36.9. Plenty of time still to be found on the remaining 3 laps. Here is Michael Chase currently at the top, but I think the best bet of dislodging him at the moment will be David Staub. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I think we need to start a jar for it, $1 in every time. But Staub's coming up the hill now, and we'll see him bring this slightly slower than his usual ride Mazda Miata across the line. Of course, Lamborghini driver has a little bit of fun with that in his usual times. And puts down a pretty solid lap there. Looks like that'll get him up to, 7th place for now?
Yes, 4th sector of the lap was a second and a half slower than Michael Chase. So he lost a lot of time in just one corner on that lap completed. Big loss of time in the fourth of, is it 7 sectors that it's counting? 6 sectors that it's counting?
Yeah, 6 sectors around here. Speaking of Michael Chase, he's going to be looking for a win out here, I got to think, today. He's missed a few rounds in the points this season, and he's not really in the running for anything other than the glory of a race win. One guy who is in the battle, though, for the championship is Camden Hibbett, who's in second place on our grid right now. Camden is actually leading the points outright if you count all the drop weeks right now. He missed last week in Virginia, but he's back again for Road America, and we'll see if our sort of young I think it's fair to call him a prodigy. I mean, at this point, is able to hold off the fast drivers we've got in this series.
He's on the list for the end of year Mazda shootout, competing for a scholarship prize or something of that nature. So I reckon you can lump together some words like that, Devon. I think they fit. So he is out the final corner.
I was definitely a worse driver at 15 than he is, as he puts it all on the line on the entry and the exit there, coming up the hill. I had experience with lawn tractors and homemade go-karts at his age. He's doing a little bit better in that Mazda Cup car. And a little bit better on the track, too. A 33.397 takes him to the pole over the likes of Michael Chase and Josh Soto, who scored an identical time to Michael Chase last time by. Unfortunately, did it after him on his first flying lap, and so ends up in third. Is it still identical on our timing screen? That's really the question at hjbc.live. 1,000th difference by the looks of things, so just a little rounding error keeping him ahead.
He is a new driver for the category this round. River Page joins Spec-5 World Tour, currently sitting 11th outright and on the pole for open class. So that's a good introduction so far.
Yeah, good place to find yourself for your first time out in this series. And we have had some exciting moments from our open class drivers this season. Of course, we had an open class winner at Daytona. Not sure we'll get the 4-wide drafting that was required for that here at Road America, but you know, it is a pretty wide front straightaway. We might get through.
No doubt we'll see what's possible. So how's everyone going now on their third flying lap? Not as many personal best sectors as I guess I was expecting to see, though there's still a smattering of them out there, and of course a couple purples coming along. So this third flying lap will be an improvement for most drivers, whether the tyres hold on in these conditions for the fourth lap to be able to be even faster, or if the tyres just start to overheat, grease up, overpressure, any of that will remain to be seen. Michael Chase up the hill. You can't even see where the timing tower is, where the start finish line is, until you get over that hill and you cross it here. And improving, but only slightly for Michael Chase. Goes into second. Timon Bramley remains up top.
Josh Soto crosses the line with another lap there, but slightly off, loses a 10th on the second time around. I wonder if what we're seeing is that these tires really only have a good lap in them with the length of the warm-up that ends up happening around here. We do see a purple final sector from Camden Hibbett as he crosses the line going into 1 that time. Not enough, though, because that lap didn't count for him. Timon Bramley on the screen now.
And he's on for a significant improvement the way things are going at the moment. So from a 33.3.
And the lap does not count. He managed to get himself an off-track push on the limits on that one. Had a couple good sectors out there, that's for sure, though. 3rd, 4th, and 6th sectors looking real quick.
That's a surprise. Must have been late on in the lap as well, I think, because... yeah, all the sectors look good, and if you'd thrown away the lap already early on, I think you'd you wouldn't be setting purple sectors, you'd be trying to save the tyres. So it must have been either Canada corner or the final corner. I don't think we saw him get too adventurously off-road. Lucky for him, though, he remains at the top of the pile, both in class and outright. Not only no purple sectors, no personal bests through 3 timing loops on this lap so far from Camden Hibbett, and the car slides a little bit through the left hand and then approaching the carousel where grip is super important. You're leaning on those outside tyres for a long time here. Any little bit of extra grip that lets you carry 1 mile an hour more will really reap benefits through a long corner like that.
Yeah, I need to get all those inches of certain corner radius that you can, right? What am I looking at? I'm trying to search through the field, see who's coming. And I think I'm going to watch Michael Chase as he's coming to the line on his 4th lap here, coming through the final corner. Michael has had a pretty ordinary lap, it must be said, on this final one. A fast first sector. Most of the rest of the ones within a few tenths or hundredths even, it must be said. But I'm not sure it's going to be enough here to get an improvement. We'll see quick lap 2:33.4, but not quite enough to improve. Camden Hibbett comes out of the final corner now. See what he can do. Currently running 3rd.
Yep, he's the next driver with a chance of improving here, still with a chance of pole position. We'll see. Needs 23.3 and he'll get so close to it, but fall just slightly short as Timon Bramley then goes and resets the marker even higher, or is about to. I think is about to. We'll see. To the start-finish line, final of 4 laps with Timon Bramley currently sitting on pole. No one has yet taken it away from him, and he looks to improve, and he does by another 2 tenths.
Ooh, and that's flying out there. Separates himself from the pack with that one. Speaking of that, our open class, while we were watching Timon Bramley, got a bit of a shake-up as Lee Martin came across the line with a 2:33.8. He's hit the pit lane, but Lee is leading open class at that time and has put himself what looks like the better part of 2 tenths up on River Page, who's 2nd, and crucially he's got about 3 cars between himself and the next car in the open class. So impressive little effort there from him. Ronnie Coates now out on track.
And Eugenio Pellicci has had no qualifying time, but that sends him to 2nd. So snap your neck moving up the field that quickly. Pellicci goes ahead of Camden Hibbett and ahead of Michael Chase. Ronnie Coates won't be able to complete this lap, but he's one of just a couple of drivers left out on track at the moment. I've got to see Adams, Ray Lombardi. Orlando Harrell, I think, is going to get a chance to complete a lap here. Might be one of the last drivers. No, that get to the checkered flag. Unfortunately not Orlando. That's the end of qualifying from Road America, but now it's time to go racing. 45 minutes with a compulsory fuel stop window. Timon Bramley was quickest in qualifying and will start on the inside of the front row. Outside of him, Eugenio Pellicci, then Camden Hibbett and Michael Chase, 3rd and 4th, to make it 4 nationalities in the top 4. And then Joshua Soto is 5th. Rui Coimbra is 6th. Mitchell Peake, Brett Marshall, David Starb, and Michael Coates is our top 10.
Continuing on down the list, we got Ronnie Coates in 11th. Coates and Coates back-to-back again. Ray Lombardi in 12th. 13th, Lee Martin, our first open class driver with that O next to his name. 14th is Tom Sanders. 15th, Sean Hayes. 16th, newcomer Roy River Page. 17th, I got River Page sounds like a wrestler name, doesn't it? Like, anyway, 17, Jordy Fike, 18, Odyssey Adams Jr., 19, Zeus Dalston, and 20th, we got Brian Shabelsky. A few more cars on the grid today. 21st, we got Ian Giebler. 22nd, Paula Coimbra. 23rd, Josh Olson. 24th, Tom Athon. 25th, Andy Cossack. And 26th, is Orlando Harrell, the last car that set a time for us today. Of course, Charles Vaccaro is still registered. We'll see if he makes the start today. little bit of drama during the qualifying session. The in-car comms were actually disabled by one of the administrators here. We had some drivers talking during the qualifying session. We'll see if that has disrupted the focus of anyone. Maybe a few drivers out of position here today.
We get a full tour on the pace lap. 3.98 miles of Road America and a good view of all the little graphical updates iRacing have made of late. Like, hey, there's a new medical helicopter there. That's fun. And I noticed on the inside of the final corner, there's a recovery tractor. And I've never seen a more detailed iRacing tractor in my life. So there's a little bit going on. They're missing quite a lot of trees still when you look from any of the helicopter or blimp shots. But Road America looking pretty good. Pretty good at the moment.
A beautiful facility, and gotta say, just one of those real gems. Definitely on the bucket list for me. I haven't made it yet, but looks really good, and always delivers on great racing. We see 26 cars streaming around the corners. 27, actually. Charles Vaccaro has taken the grid right there at the back, lining up alongside the bright purple car of Orlando Harrell. And our field has 9 open class drivers, meaning 18 pro class drivers today taking the field. And of course, points in this series determined by overall finishing position, not just finishing position relative to class. So every spot on track counts, and you can tell which cars are in which classes just by taking a look at the overlays. The blue class is our open class drivers, and the red class is our pro class drivers. The points leader in both class is denoted by the filled in numbers, red for pro, blue for open. And we also have filled in numbers that are gold, silver, and bronze to celebrate those drivers that contribute to making this series awesome. We wouldn't be able to do this broadcast without their help, and supporters of the series also get extra input and extra control over the cool tracks that they get to go out and race here today. Nearly a 3,000 iRating strength of field out there today, and plenty of drivers north of that within the top 10, including our 6,500 iRating leader, Tim and Bramley. So I'm looking forward to some quality racing out there today, Haynes.
I've been thinking, as we've seen the field behind the pace car go underneath the Sargento Cheese Bridge and now underneath the Johnsonville Bridge, let's get ourselves a beer sponsor before we worry about hot dogs and cheese.
Here, here. We're going to have to find one that distributes in Australia, the US, and Canada, though. I mean, we'll have to work on it. We'll see how it goes.
We'll keep working on it. They're most of the way around the formation lap here, and of course, the 45 minutes only starts when the green flag waves. By most accounts, a relatively high fuel consumption track here at Road America with those long straights. So exactly when the pit window opens remains to be seen, but I don't think we're going to see too many drivers running very, very, very deep into this race, i.e. to 10 minutes to go. I think most of them are going to happen a bit closer to the halfway point of this race.
Yeah, and the pit strategy and the tire strategy has been critical this season. With the warmer track, got to expect that some tires might be viable today. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out, but they're tightening up and getting ready for the line there, Haynes.
They are. Timon Bramley's wowing them up before the final corner, letting the pace car get away. It makes a very aggressive lurch to pit entry, which is on the right after the final corner and up that hill. So Timon Bramley on the pole in pro class. Lee Martin, best qualifying open class driver, is 13th in the field. So he's also in that right-hand lane that'll have the inside for turn number 1. Field's pretty tightly packed up as we get the green flag now and we get underway. The inside lane all pushing each other along. And Timon Bramley's got a rocket ship behind him. with Camden Hibbert also making a little bit of progress. Joshua Soto pushing him along as well. Heading towards turn number 1. The tyres are cold. The balancer car is oversteering. We've got a couple of cars into the concrete up the back there as well.
Yeah, that looks like Tom Athon, last year's Open Class champion, this year's first loser at Road America. Gets a little bit of help there as he's changing lanes from Zeus Dalston, one of the Canadians in the field. Can't imagine that was on purpose. I can hear the stories from here. But Athon, early damage, and kind of a disappointing season for him with how that's been going.
And then you also see Paulo Coimbra joining the race from the pit lane start, and he might be thankful for that, dodging just a little bit of chaos. So 26 cars on track, 27 started the race. One of them has maybe come to an end very early. Zeus Dalston also with some damage and problems. Leading the field after turn 5, this trio that got away to a great start, Bramley, Hibbert and Soto, but Mitchell Peak is around. He hasn't even got to his namesake nationality corner just yet, and he might have some damage down there at turn 5.
Yeah, going through turn 5, you'll see it here. He just kind of clips the inside apex of the corner and gets it all wrong, spins the thing around, does it all by himself, doesn't get any help, and decides to tow it on the way out. I don't know if that's just disappointment or if or what the sort of rationale was. Maybe there's a little bit more damage I didn't see, but looked to me like he just kind of got it all wrong by himself, and sure enough he disconnects. So I think that's a rage quit if I ever seen one.
Well, there are 2 drivers on pit lane, and it's both of our Canadians in this opening lap, as Timon Bramley still leads the field from Camden Hibbert. Joshua Soto's made 2 spots off the race start. That inside lane making a lot of positions on the race start. He's gone up to 3rd, pushing Eugenio Pellicci back to 4th, and Michael Chase back to 5th. Roy Coimbra still runs in 6th, trying to make sure he stays part of the leading train. And start making a spot or 2, so is Ronnie Coates.
Yeah, we saw Soto do pretty well in the Mustangs around here last week, I want to say. So we'll see what he's got with the Spec-5s tonight. Of course, he was racing in the Champ Car Series last time out.
Almost 4 miles of racing complete, and look at the overspeed Joshua Soto has got as Camden Hibbert just sits behind Timon Bramley, going from 3rd place to the lead in a very short space of time. Joshua Soto goes to the lead of the race, while those other 2 really look to be rolling out of the throttle, trying to save a little bit of fuel, and it lets everyone else stay with the leading group. Bramley goes back to 3rd, but now Eugenio Pellicci is right with him, and it's an unbroken train of cars from 1st all the way down to Brian Jabalski in 19th. Lee Martin still holds the open class lead in 11th, but River Page is right in behind. So there's your open class battle, 11th and 12th. Next in their class, though, is Ian Giebler in 18th, but he's part of this leading group, and that's just where you want to be in the opening of a race like this.
Yeah, we've seen the role that fuel consumption can play in this series, and it's always a consideration for these guys up at the front. It gives us really fun racing. You know, no one's really out of the picture until something crazy happens, and it inevitably does in these parts.
4th and 5th, Eugenio Pellicci and Michael Chase had a little bit of contact now just coming through turn 5. It doesn't seem to have caused any lasting effects, but you can see that sort of 1 or 2 car lengths they are now back from 3rd place as a result of that, and it's boxed in the rest of the field behind as well. So this unbroken line of MX-5s now on lap number 2. Your top 18 covered by 7 seconds.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pick one battle to single out, but there's really just so many cars that are kind of pushing each other everywhere. It's pretty tight everywhere you look. Right now, Ronnie Coates and Roy Coimbra are glued pretty close together as they come through the kink for the second time of asking here. And Coimbra's got a good position here in the draft. If he wants it, he can make the inside move. He decides to make the outside move around Canada corner, though. A little atypical there. And is going to stay behind as they go through Canada corner. And we'll see how this continues going up the front straight. Things are looking very tight in the top 3 right now, and sure enough in the top 5 as we come through the final corner. No one really wants to seem to break away at this point.
It was about halfway down the pit straight here, approaching turn 1, that we saw some shenanigans start to kick off a little bit, like the drivers in second and third start rolling out of the throttle, trying to save fuel. That's what Camden Hibbett's done. You see that his progress towards Joshua Soto is really, really backed out. We're all sort of coasting it down towards turn number 1, seeing who wants to pull out a line and try to make a move. Michael Chase pulled out a line, but stays in position, so it was almost more defensive than aggressive to pull out a line as he then rolled out of the throttle towards turn number 1. Strategy games well and truly afoot already, and everyone inside of the top 10 seems to be singing from the same hymn book there. So maybe someone else deeper in the field who wants to be more aggressive could pick off a whole bunch of spots quickly right now if they gave it a shot.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see who who the lucky winner is when that timing comes up. They're getting too wide down into corner number 5 here, though.
Glitch on the inside with Chase looking to go around the outside of him in turn 5. 2 rows too deep here. And it looks like Rui Coimbra is going to lose out as David Starb and now Michael Coates get down the inside of him in successive corners. He gets shoved out. He has a moment and he hit checks Brett Marshall, who ends up in the concrete.
Oh, you never want to be on the outside of that Corvette bend, and that goes all kinds of wrong as he gets some tires on the dirt and on the dirty side of the track and just swings back across into that other car. They're 3 wide. Oh, and they're wrecking down towards the Speedville Bridge. That was Odyssey, Jordy Fike, Tom Sanders, and Ian Giebler that were making big contact going in there. Everyone managed to keep it pointing the right way. We'll watch that one again, though. They're 3 wide as they come through the hurry downs, and on the outside, Jordy Fike just has no way to know that he is about to be the victim of, of being on the wrong side of a 3-way.
I'll let that one fly. So it breaks up what was an unbroken pack of 18 up front, with now some contact, some 3 wide, and of course Brett Marshall towing back to the pit lane as well. So it's a top 8 at the moment, from Joshua Soto leading through to Camden Hibbett, Simon Bramley, Eugenio Polici. You see Michael Coates in his normal spot there in 8th, hanging on. And then a little bit of a gap to River Page, who's gotten ahead of Lee Martin through all of that to be the leading open class driver. And then a little group that's got Rui Coimbra, Ray Lombardi and Sean Hayes as well. Front for the race lead. We've seen it swap in towards turn 1 many a time, but huge, gigantic lifts out of second and third sees Joshua Soto stay in the race lead. I think this is going to be a fuel strategy race, is what I'm reading from Soto, Hibbett and Bramley.
Yeah, really got to look at the guys that are just struggling to hang on if you want to see some of the action, and that's kind of what I'm seeing as I watch River Page, who's up 7 positions now, made his way past Lee Martin, lead in the open class, as he tries to drag this group that's running from 9th back to about 17th back into contact with the leading pack. He's definitely finding some pace around here and showing a pretty good performance for himself. Like I said, first-time driver. Oh, a little bit of drama up ahead of him. Looks like they're all going to get through the corner okay, but it looked to me like Michael Coates was off on the dirty side of the track heading down into turn number 5.
So the drivers feeling each other out a little bit in this opening stanza of the race. We've had a little bit of contact. We've had the field spread just a little bit, but then the massive slipstream on the 3 long straights here, and also a bit of the fuel saving from the leaders, starts to bring everyone else back together. River Page successfully closing up the gap to the top 8. And also just a little bit of battle sort of around that 5th to 8th position, helping them catch as well. Off the road though, Lee Martin, and there's damage on that car. Big consequences in the open class. So that's Josh Olsen.
I was going to say, didn't quite see that, but yeah, Olsen gets a little bit wrong. Luckily, he bounces off the tire barriers, and those are pretty forgiving in iRacing. I see a bent front fender. It'll cost him a little bit of time, but we're getting close to that pit window. A few more laps. Okay, maybe a few more than a few more laps away for him.
So here's our leaders. about to complete lap 4. Time is what's critical in this race, though, in a 45-minute race. A bit of movement going on as we ride on board now. Timon Bramley in third. You get an idea that the slipstream starts to close him up to the front two, and then just rolls out of it. Here comes Michael Chase from 5th place, now 4th, now 3rd, down the inside of Timon Bramley. That's why Bramley goes wide. So Chase is one of the drivers who goes, okay, if everyone's lifting out of the throttle, I'll go, but he only got 1 spot because of it.
Yeah, this is it's almost looking like a bike race out there right now, a pedal bike race with the way guys are playing the strategy, trying to time their runs. 2x2 though, as they go into the Sargento Trees Bridge, and we will see how that pans out. This is always an action corner down here. Looks like the slow lanes on the inside right now. Ronnie Coates and Michael Chase are stacking up and letting the likes of Eugenio Polici by. Deep under brakes there for Michael Chase, and nearly contact. They managed to avoid it. Michael Coates staying on the outside in that bright green car. They're going too wide under the Corvette Bridge. It funnels down one by one. River Page firmly in the pack now. He's running 9th, takes the spot away from Roy Coimbra, taking it on the front straightaway, just behind them.
Exciting stuff up front, bit of strategy playing out, a little bit of door banging, plenty of side-by-side happening at the moment. Maybe we'll petition for a rename from Spec-5 World Tour to Le Tour de Spec-5, the way it's going at the moment. Michael Coates makes the move there on Michael Chase on the way into the carousel, which is unconventional, but makes it work. And then it's got to be on the right line, no downforce on a car like this, to then carry your speed through that kink and onto the back straight towards Canada Corner.
And they're too wide. Ronnie Coates making a big move, taking a big look up the inside of Michael Chase there. Chase gets pushed wide, ends up 2 tires in the dirt and loses his run. River Page stacking up behind. That's our open class leader there as he goes around the outside of David Staub and finds himself now running in what looks to me like 8th place, up 8 spots from where he started. So a driver showing a little bit more pace in traffic than he did on his solo lap.
All happening under the shade of the trees in America's National Park of Speed. Over the pit straight again we go. We've seen no one make a strategic pit stop yet, even though at this point the window should start to open. The side-by-side on the pit straight at the moment is David Staub and Rui Coimbra. Coimbra pulls back in line there before turn 1. Not too many stops made.
Yeah. I got some updated fuel numbers right before the race, and by the sounds of things, it looks like lap 7 would be about as early as you could expect a pit stop to work. But of course, that's not factoring in the amount of draft that we're seeing out here. They're too wide a little further back. David Staub's getting a push from Roy Coimbra behind. 2 veterans teaming up on River Page as he's in the outside here. Manages to break it real deep though, and nicely executed there. It's got to be said. He gets such a good run out of that corner that he's almost on the back bumper of Michael Chase there, threatening up the hill.
Yeah, Chase got wide in 5 as well. He's wide at the top of the hill and it's letting the leaders get away. Chase not on any particularly great lines here. River Page will have the inside at the bottom of the hill and the left-hander where you don't want to get too much of the curb. There's a big divot and it's seen a couple drivers get around. Page goes down the inside and to the front of this pack, but your top 6 are getting away. Now Chase is under even more pressure from David Staub.
And it must be said, Page is really announcing his presence here tonight. He is he's passing cars left and right, and he's racing some series regulars out here real hard. Yeah.
They got the custom quick chat commands bound while doing it.
Yeah, he's got a lot to say from the text to chat in the car there. Up the inside is Michael Chase on River Page. And he takes him into Canada Corner, gets the spot back. Over under though action, and we'll see how this goes up the hill. Page gets a nice run on the exit.
definitely good slipstream for Chase, but good drive off the exit of the corner for River Page, who goes back in front. Hayes down the inside of Lombardi at the back of this pack, heading into the final corner there as well, as this group then leads its way back up the hill. Now Michael Coates is alongside Eugenio Polici, so lots happening on the pit straight this time around as well as they start lap 7. Still Joshua Soto leading from Camden Hibbett and Bramley in third. That position order hasn't changed much in a while for the front three. How about this next group with Chase down the inside, Page trying to go around the outside of turn 1. There's a little bit more forgiving pavement on the outside there now than there used to be, and it works out for Page.
Yeah, it's getting busy everywhere. I'm watching Jordy Fike and Ian Giebler have a little battle a little further back. Ian Giebler just took the spot away from Jordy Fike around the outside into turn number 1. Fike putting some pressure, though, on our open class points leader at this point in the season. Giebler currently running 3rd overall in the open class, so holding on to that podium. But he's got Charles Vaccaro right behind and Jordy Fike up the inside. So that's Tom Sanders right behind getting a run, and they're going to go 3 wide into turn number 5. And there's a little bit of drum up ahead of them too. Giebler drops out of it, and it looked to me like Ray Lombardi had to take some evasive action in that yellow roll barred car that's just up ahead of them too.
So super close racing like we'd expect out of this big slipstream that you get from the 3 long straights at Road America, creating just a bit of pressure in places throughout the pack. Top 2, what a nice little lead Joshua Soto and Camden Hibbett have got. They know each other quite well, by chance working together a little bit here. Bramley, we know, has super speed, enough that he qualified on pole position, but he's hanging back just a tiny bit at the moment.
Yeah, you got to think that Timmons seeing that gap develop and probably not liking it one bit, but we did see him go 0.2 of a second faster than anyone else in qualifying, so we'll see if he's able to engage some of that speed. Gets a good draft here down the straight into Canada corner, and then that gap's mostly gone, I gotta say.
And the long front straight, including the uphill at the start of it, seems to turbocharge the effect of the slipstream there, and he's just 2 car lengths back off the leaders this time. Has a bit of a wiggle on the way into the final corner, so not a good exit for him, and he heads to pit lane. Timon Bramley going to be one of the first cars choosing to stop as everyone else in that leading pack carries on from the second pack. We've got one caller, it looks like it might have been Rui Coimbra, as River Page continues to lead that group from Michael Chase, David Starb and Lee Martin. So 2 callers on pit lane for the moment.
Yeah, not stopping them from racing at the front, though. Eugenio Polici lets Michael Coates by. Coates taking 3rd place away, and the 2 of them will be doing their best, I got to imagine, to try and hang on to the back of Josh Soto and Camden Hibbett. Curious strategy there. I'm a little surprised to see our Tim and Bramley just dive into the pit lane like that, but I guess he's decided that the tires are more important than the fuel load at this point in the race.
Track heating up a little bit as we go. Skies have cleared up, and you do see left-hand side tyres happen for everyone on pit lane here. So Bramley and Coimbra both going for new left sides.
Busy at the front again. River Page and Michael Chase are 5th and 6th. They're battling with each other. Guess that's not quite the front. River Page gets that over-under going again as he's trying to hold off Michael Chase. Chase on the outside again through 6. And he's going to have to give that spot up to both of them. Are going to run wide, and Dave Staub's going to have a run coming into the right-hander at the top of the hill. He decides to back it off and just follow along. And you gotta wonder the statement that's being made. He's holding off some really fast drivers in the pro class right now. Is River.
I guess you have to wait until after everyone makes their pit stops before you decide if it's really clever or just messing up your strategy a little too early. Pit stops for Bramley, 20 seconds, 19 for Coimbra, 24 for Josh Olsen. Those are the only 3 cars that have voluntarily been through pit lane, because Zeus Starlston, Odyssey Adams and a couple of others have been through for damage.
Ooh, and Josh Soto runs it real wide on the exit of Canada corner. He gets a little bit of a break from the guys behind. Both Camden Hibbett and Michael Coates on the brakes as they're exiting, letting Josh Soto rejoin. That pack up at the front, though, is really stacked up now. 4 deep, and Eugenio Pellicci hanging on to the back. You almost can't see the guys behind. They're so close together right now. We'll see. Are there any takers? And there are takers for the pit lane this time by. Only one car staying out. Ronnie Coates decides he wants to run it longer.
So most of the pack peel off for the lane. Similar things happening in the next group of drivers. It's David Starb, Lee Martin, Sean Hayes come in. So 7 cars on the lane at the moment. 4 from the leading pack and then 3 from the next group. They also all going to take left-hand side tyres like Timon Bramley did. Seems like that might be the popular thing. Track heating up. A lot of loaded right-handers here, including the carousel. Looking at all of them on the lane at the moment. Sean Hayes definitely going for left-hand side tyres. Not seeing it happen from anyone in front of him yet. No, basically only Sean Hayes, whereas Bramley definitely went. Hayes might be getting all 4, so that might not be intentional either. No tyres from the rest of them here. Michael Coates, one of the successful drivers in that race off of pit road, gains a spot or 2 on Pellicci and Soto and Hibbett. Here's Bramley at speed on the racing line to swoop around the outside of them. So not losing too much from stopping too early, Timon Bramley.
Yeah, gaining a bit as well. It looks like that undercut has paid off well for him. Michael Coates was very aggressive on the pit lane entry, it must be said. Saw him dive out of line with the other guys, sort of slowing down a little bit early for his taste. And combined with the speedy pit stop he just put down, he managed to make that work and holds a narrow lead over Timon Bramley. Our pack a little bit strung out after the pit stops, but as usual, you'd expect that things will stack up in a lap or 2 once these guys get their drafts all sorted out.
So net leader of the race, Michael Coates at the moment. Timon Bramley just behind him. Ronnie Coates was part of the lead group and the only driver who carried on. So he'll need a very quick stop whenever it is that he makes that stop, if he's going to be with this group of drivers or in fact even ahead of them.
Yeah, it's I'm a little curious to see how running it long goes. Early indications seem to be that the undercut was the way to go, but I wonder if these guys behind him get to battling, maybe he'll have a shot to sort of regain what was lost in the undercut.
A little bit wide in the final corner as Ronnie Coates now points it to the pit entry heading up the hill. Track map shows where he is versus the 213 of Michael Coates, leader of the cars that have stopped. You can see heading towards Canada corner, and it looks like a lot on the track map, but once you get to the pit lane speed, you've got to go down pit road, which is a long one here at Road America. Costs you a lot.
Pass for what is probably the effective lead. Timon Bramley goes around the inside of Michael Coates through Canada corner that time. Camden Hibbett right on the rear bumper. And Coates was a little bit deep on the brakes. Not sure if he was given room or just getting it wrong, but either way, Timon takes those left side tires and takes the lead.
Yeah, Ronnie Coates still in his pit box. No tyre change there, so he'll be the only driver in the lead pack, Timon Bramley, that took left side tyres in the pit stop. Ronnie Coates gets going up to 45 miles an hour, now trying to get going even quicker. He's out ahead for the moment, but they are bearing down on him with prodigious speed towards turn number 1. And at racing speed, you can see there's the pack. They're gonna get him, you suspect, around about turn 5 as Ronnie Coates tries to get up to speed.
Speedy pit stop there from Ronnie Coates. Some crafty fuel saving that must have been going on in that early stint. He's got 5-7 car lengths that'll evaporate, I'd imagine, but there's not a lot to replace track position, these sorts of things.
Just 5 cars that haven't stopped at this point. Tom Sanders, Ray Lombardi, Ian Giebler, Charles Vaccaro, and Orlando Herrell. Everyone else has been through the pit lane for their fuel in this race so far, and there goes Vaccaro ahead of Orlando Herrell in a little open class fight. They're 9 seconds behind Ian Giebler, who is maybe having a little bit of a battle with Lee Martin and with River Page for the win in the open class. So going long here for Giebler, proving the strategy, and River Page with a slightly poor introduction to the championship with quite a long stop here that's dropped him out of class lead.
And that's tough. You gotta win all phases of the race, not just on track. And an extra 7 seconds on the pit lane, that's gonna be hard to make up on track for him. You gotta think.
Maybe that's just how much fuel was needed after leading that pack in the early goings. Do I get to say I told you so? Maybe I do. Here's the drivers that haven't stopped yet. And okay, Ray Lombardi, one more, as almost everyone else comes into the pit lane, like Tom Sanders, like Ian Giebler. Orlando Herald loves to go a lap longer than everyone else, so maybe he'll stay out too.
Sure enough.
You can see where the open class leader that's pitted is.
Yeah, I was going to say there is an extra point available for being the leader of a lap, so I imagine that is what Ray has in mind, going a lap longer.
Left sides for Ian Giebler as we look at that car on pit lane. Not many others taking it, so it's been only a few cars that have gone, okay, left side tyres could be useful. 63 is River Page coming out of the final corner for comparison between the 404 of Ian Giebler. Lee Martin, I think, will go through into the lead of class, though. He's on the pit straight at the moment.
They rejoin into this busy turn one, and Sean Hayes had a
there
real
comes Lee
run.
Martin. Yep, just going around Ian Giebler with Sean Hayes.
Yeah, there's Sean Hayes had his eyes up there. That was good because he had to move up the inside lined up that would have just caused a disaster if he had driven into those cars coming off the pit lane. But showing the awareness you'd expect out of a pro class driver, and Sean Hayes avoids disaster and joins a pack here. A pack that includes, just ahead of him, like you said, Lee Martin, our new leader in open class, leading after qualifying and leading on track again. Ian Giebler, though, back in the picture. Definitely closer than he was before.
This is the battle for the outright win. Ronnie Coates still leading, but of course has been caught by that next group of drivers. Timon Bramley right behind him, with Camden Hibbett behind that at the moment. Joshua Soto, is he kind of covering off Michael Coates and Eugenio Pellicci for the moment. With that long initial run and shorter pit stop, is Ronnie Coates still going to need to save a bit in this back phase of the race with 17 minutes to go, or do you think he's all good to try to lead to victory?
I'm optimistic. He was hanging around the back half of that grid and really kind of taking advantage of the opportunity to do some fuel saving. Ronnie Coates is a smart driver. You know, you see him kind of playing the game whenever we get him on track. So I think he's got enough fuel in that car.
So Bramley was very close through the kink, right in the slipstream onto this back straight, and chose not to take the lead away. And he took more fuel than Ronnie Coates did. So I think we'll get to the last lap and not know exactly where everyone stands and who's saved enough, who's good to push, etc. So just to see that your top six continue to close up with that slipstream that gives a benefit to everyone behind the leader. Going to drive down the middle of the road and then back across to that line, and then what for Ronnie Coates? He gets a bump from Bramley, but Hibbett pulls out a line to try to make some positions from third now to second, about to be first. Camden Hibbett's picked this is his moment to go ahead. Joshua Soto follows him. Bramley has a big lift off, and so to the lead goes Camden Hibbett. Ronnie Coates is going to try to slot back into second, but Joshua Soto's also picked up a position as well.
Yeah, cleanly executed passes there, and if Josh Soto and Camden Hibbett are working together, they're working in synchronization as well, as the two of them kind of popped out at the same time and then popped back into line at the same time. Soto making a move up the inside here under the bridge.
Orlando Herald and Ray Lombardi have pitted, so now everyone has, and we can watch the fight to the end. Camden Hibbett getting swallowed up as Joshua Soto goes down the inside, and Timon Bramley opts to follow him side by side for the lead in towards turn 5. Around the outside's a tough place to be. Bramley also gets through and up into second. Ronnie Coates up the hill, had a run, backed out of it, drops back in line in front of Michael Coates. Eugenio Pollicci sixth. And this leading group of 6 have almost 10 seconds over the next drivers as well.
Yeah, they've got a pretty solid little breakaway there, but as I'm looking at our timing screen, every single driver on the track.
From Camden Hibbett as the tail stepped out from him before the carousel. Gathers it all up, but we've seen how a slide in that area can so easily end up in the wall. I think almost three drivers have done it.
That was a great catch from Camden. He looked like a Formula D car going around that thing. I was going to say every single driver in the field has the battle marker on them right now. It is spicy no matter where you look. Our open class leaders have been getting a little feisty too, as Sean Hayes gave Lee Martin a great big push last time down the short straight and gave himself a little bit of a gap from Ian Giebler. We'll keep an eye on that battle heading towards the finish here.
4 seconds behind them in the back of shot is River Page. So your top 3 in open class, briefly within the same picture there.
The action's not any more spicy than at the front though. It's busy up there too. They're going up the hill on the front straight right now, and Camden Hibbett's popped out a line early. Josh Soto comes over to cover or to help his teammate, depending on how you look at it. And Camden gets a big old draft, going to give a big old push to Josh Soto as the two of them try to make a move up the inside of Timon Bramley.
This is where you learn who your real friends are. Bramley tries to go around the outside for the lead of the race. He's not going to get given a whole lot of space as Joshua Soto almost escorts him off. Camden Hibbett stays in third. Eugenio Pollicci pops out of line, so we're almost 2 wide, 3 rows deep for the lead of the race here. Still hanging tough around the outside. Timon Bramley won't give up. He's got his nose in front for the race lead. Joshua Soto alongside him gets a bump from Camden Hibbett, and so that lane starts working picks up a little more speed, puts Joshua Soto back in the lead of the race and gets him a little bit ahead as they head down towards turn 5, longest braking zone of the lap because it's downhill, because you arrive with speed. Bramley now has the inside, but not as good of a run up the hill, but he still maintains the overlap with the inside to the next corner and goes through into the lead of the race.
6 cars in the lead pack and 6 laps left, and any one of them could take the flag at this point. It is spicy out at the front of the field.
There's damage on the nose for Camden Hibbett as Joshua Soto has a look down the inside of Timon Bramley, and it's from that bump on the pit straight just then. Arrived with way more overspeed, really carried through on the push and gave himself a little bit of nose damage. You can push, but you can't bump. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you gotta do it gentle gentle hits at 120 miles an hour, you know. Kink comes by and Timon runs a little bit wide, and the teammates aren't driving like teammates. Camden makes a move on the outside of Soto, but Soto's gonna have the inside line going into Canada corner. You gotta think that's where you'd like to be. And a little bit of space is left by the looks of things up the inside. Ronnie Coates, though, not patient to stay back in 4th place. He's kind of trying to keep them honest up at the front here.
Bramley ran a little bit wide in Canada corner. They go 2 wide up the hill through Bill Mitchell Bend. Single file for everyone because you want to really maximize your run off this final corner and maybe try to pass down the straight or in towards turn number 1. 11 minutes left on the clock. Should be 5 more laps. Bramley immediately over to the pit wall in a defensive maneuver, but the group of cars behind him are approaching at speed. Joshua Soto pulls out. Hibbett goes with him to try to push to the lead around the outside. Arriving at big speed comes Ronnie Coates, and he could have made it 3 wide, but he opts to just disappear in behind Timon Bramley. Around the outside for the lead of the race goes Joshua Soto. Hibbett gets muscled out of room around the outside of turn number 1. And it's just Michael Coates and Eugenio Pollicci watching on from their position 5th and 6th at the moment.
Absolutely classic Spec-5 Miata racing going on up at the front here.
Oh, bit of 3 wide as Michael Coates now gets alongside Ronnie Coates, who's alongside Camden Hibbett. They're both catching up to Timon Bramley, and Joshua Soto sailed away almost a second into the race lead. What's going on here?
They better find a way to make this corner work, otherwise Soto's going to walk away with this one. Oh, and they don't! Oh, and Timon Bramley gets the wall, gets Michael Coates, gets Ronnie Coates. We still have 4 racing. But you got to think that with 3 cars going into one, that was a predictable outcome.
3 wide into the braking zone at turn 5, and damage ensues. Joshua Soto leads the race from Camden Hibbett, Eugenio Pellicci, and Ronnie Coates. Take a look at this one again, okay? Coates, and Bramley.
Yeah, and they just get a little bit
Bramley
close.
Kind of starts coming across a bit there. Yeah, everyone else looks like they're holding their line.
Yeah, it's hard. The track's moving to the left, and so if you drive in a straight line, I don't know. It's racing instant.
Breaks up the leading group of 6. It sends Joshua Soto out to a 1.1 second lead over Camden Hibbett. Eugenio Pellicci now running in a podium spot ahead of Ronnie Coates, who's managed to carry on without too much damage. Most of the damage seems to be Michael Coates and Timon Bramley. Michael Chase has been promoted to 5th here with the group that he leads with Rui Coimbra and Geordie Fike. Michael Coates is back there in 8th. Open class leader Lee Martin has Ian Giebler just behind him, and River Page has dropped back a little bit over the last couple of laps, losing time to Martin and Giebler, who seem like they're able to go quicker as part of a group of cars being towed around by some pretty quick pro class guys in front of them.
Yeah, for what it's worth, a slow lap last time by from River Page, but he's been consistently pretty quick out there. I'm wondering if his long pit stop was actually due to him taking 4 tires, because he's been showing some decent pace without a draft, all things considered. But either way, he's got to make up, what is that, about 8 seconds if he wants to have a shot at catching those guys for the other steps on the podium. And meanwhile, that pack just ahead of them, Sean Hayes is having a move made up the inside by David Staub. They're going 2 wide through turn number 1, and this is the furious battle over 11th place. If you can believe it. It is no matter where you look right now, it is busy out there.
These guys have caught Michael Coates. How does his car look? He's still leading this group. Don't see too much damage on it. I think he kind of got more of a scuff across the wall here in turn 5 rather than going hard into it. He's mothered up with a couple of ducklings towards turn 5 this lap around.
And Ray Lombardi takes evasive action there in the braking zone. He sees what looks like the car Tom Saunders moving a little bit. Oh, and what happened there? Michael Coates,
Coates is off the road.
Yeah, he drifts through the corner and then just dodges out to the right, hits the pit lane. Had that issue earlier on. I wonder if that's the end of the race for him. We see Timon Bramley just ahead of him on the pit lane taking some tires, and then we'll see if he rejoins the race.
This is the lead. Joshua Soto's got 1.07 seconds at the moment. Camden Hibbett trying to hunt him down. Eugenio Pellicci and Ronnie Coates in the slipstream at the moment, with 3 more laps to go by the looks of things at the end of this one. And the lead gap comes down, it comes down, it comes down. I think we got a fight on our hands. Joshua Soto hasn't been able to scamper away into the distance just yet. Even with that damage on the nose for Camden Hibbett, he seems like he's able to close in on the race leader.
And he's definitely got a lot of pace out there. And I have to figure that the the team tactics might be over if Camden's able to close this down, as they're going to be 3 to go at the line.
It's out the final corner and up that hill. It's a steep little hill, so you do not want to run out of fuel on the last lap here at Road America. There will be no coasting down the hill to the checkered flag. It's sharply uphill before the checkered flag here. And so Polici in third. Oh, okay, bit of an off-center bump on second place Camden Hibbett. The sentiment still probably appreciated. The execution leaving a little bit to be desired. And second and third close in massively on race leader Joshua Soto. I think you can run with the leading pack so long as your car is black, white, and red this round.
I'm just trying to mentally decide if Eugenio Polici's just used to driving right-hand drive cars, or if he's just a NASCAR driver in his heart hitting the right side of the bumper, trying to bump draft. Either way, it was a good bump draft because it's got Camden Hibbett right on the bumper of Josh Soto this time as they go down into 5.
And Hibbett got mighty close, but didn't try to outbrake down the inside in turn 5. Just sits in behind Joshua Soto, and your top 4 now all within 1 second as they head up the hill under the Corvette bridge. Devin, let's get ourselves a Corvette sponsor too. I reckon we could all deal with that.
I could use one of those. I think a few guys might be given an argument for it. Back in 8th place, Tom Saunders, David Staub, those guys were all too wide going under the bridge this time. That's Sean Hayes holding his spot around the outside of Tom Saunders, and that's David Staub trying to make his move on the outside, on the inside, and on the inside again. We'll see down the hurry downs here.
Everyone back single file for this tough corner where you can hook a little bit of banking on the inside of the curb there, but too much will spit you out and spin you around.
While we've looked away, the leaders have split away. Camden Hibbett is not racing. He's pushing, and he and Josh Soto are hooked up again and trying to make that gap up nearly half a second between them and Eugenio Polici. And I've noticed Polici kind of hanging back a little bit here. Same goes for Ronnie Coates. Maybe you were more right on with that fuel guess that you made earlier than I thought. Suggestion that maybe he was a little bit low on fuel. Either way, they close up through Canada Corner, and they're real close. A couple taps in the final corner. And that means that Coates is now right on the bumper. So close, in fact, that he actually had to dodge out of the way of Eugenio Polici coming through the final corner.
No white flag just yet. Lap times are a bit over 2.5 minutes around here. 3 still on the clock. Means 2 more laps of Road America. 4 drivers with a chance for the win. And Ronnie Coates is going to start to buy into this now. He looks down the inside of Eugenio Polici, who has a big lift on the way into turn number 1. And up into 3rd place goes Ronnie Coates.
And there's big lifts going on in a few places. I wonder how many guys were ready for the track or for the race to go this long. As I'm scrolling through the field, I'm seeing guys lifting at the end of the pit lane, it looks like, in a few cases.
Lead of open class, Lee Martin with Ian Giebler just behind him. And they're on the tail of a 4-way fight for 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th Pro Class drivers in front of them.
And I bet you the both of them would love to get a couple of those Pro Class drivers behind them. It's all points battles for those two, with Ian Giebler leading the points, but Lee Martin having a few strong finishes to name.
Ian Giebler down the inside of turn 5 for the lead of open class. Gets in pretty hot, but gets to the apex and gets turned. So he goes ahead of Lee Martin. See Sanders just backing out of the overlap with Sean Hayes just in front of that.
And that's first and second in the points, and first and second on the track in open class. And Sean Hayes had a bit of a nice move there up ahead of them, but we're rejoining the lead. And Soto and Camden, despite their best efforts, haven't quite been able to break away from Ronnie Coates. Eugenio Polici, on the other hand, is a little bit further back. I think something's slowing him down at this point.
Yeah, he's dropped back a little bit. He's had a lot of big lifts, but is where he's sitting in the slipstream right now enough, or does he need to do even more to drop back even further? He's got 7 seconds behind to where 5th place is. So if he just wants to bag 4th and he's short on fuel, he can save. The slipstream will certainly help with where he is right now. Again, for the reasons I talked about earlier, you do not want to cough and splutter and run out of fuel on the final lap at Road America. Something you want to avoid at all costs. It's not Bathurst where you can coast down the hill on the last lap, or any other track like that. nasty, sharp uphill right before the checkered flag. It's the white flag now. 1 lap to go. Joshua Soto leads. Camden Hibbett pulls out, then ducks back into line. They've got a couple of car lengths clear on Ronnie Coates, and Eugenio Polici, he's still in the slipstream, even though he's cracked it sort of 3/4 throttle down the straight, staying with the leaders, saving a lot of fuel.
There's action all over the place. They're 3 wide going into turn number 1 right now, a little deeper in the field. That's a Ray Lombardi. On the outside is Sean Hayes. Oh, and there's contact, a little bit of contact there, but they managed to keep the point the right way. This is for 8th place on the track.
David Staub sensed his opportunity as they were rubbing in front of him. He tried to have a good line, carry a lot of speed. Now drops back. Watch him go too wide in front of him, but Hayes is around and through the smoke. Tom Sanders goes in front. Ray Lombardi goes through as well. Ian Giebler's thinking, I'll pick off a couple more spots here for my points on the final lap, if you don't mind. But it gets boxed in alongside David Staub, who wants to get ahead of Ray Lombardi. Here comes Lee Martin. Now he's following the slipstream to maybe try to get the open class lead back if he can. Late change of lane from Lombardi. Same from Sanders, who tries to cover it up. They touch once. They touch twice on the way through turn 5. Giebler runs out so wide.
And they're staying in that battle there with the open class as the pro class drivers are carrying on. They're single file at the front, though. There doesn't seem to be enough pace out of that slightly damaged car of Camden Hibbett to be able to really challenge Josh Soto right now.
Last time through the carousel, and Joshua Soto drives it in narrow but hugs the inside all the way around. There's only really 2 opportunities to pass left for Camden Hibbett. It's on the way into Canada Corner, or with a great drive out of the final corner and passing on the way up the hill to the checkered flag. Soto's still in the box seat, 3/10 ahead, not getting closed enough down the straight here on the way into Canada Corner, but he goes defensively across to cover the inside. Hibbett's under pressure now from Ronnie Coates going around the outside. Coates backs out early. There's only a car length between first and second. Eugenio Polici still with them. Anyone has a chance right now. Up the hill, Hibbett is all over the rear bumper of the leader, and Soto's got to try to cover off the inside of the final corner. Comes back across Camden Hibbett, who tries to set up an over-under. Soto parks it on the exit, on the apex as well, and now they're going to be side by side. Up the hill they go, trying to take the side draft. Can Camden Hibbett overtake Soto before the line? They're side by side. They fan out 3 wide, and the race win goes to Camden Hibbett by 1/100th of a second, 1/10 to cover your top 3.
Roy Coimbra crossed his line after an intense battle between himself and Michael Chase, leaves Jordy Fike in the wall. They're 2 wide, a little deeper in the field. David Staub is going to hold off Tom Saunders, and our open class winner is Ian Giebler as he holds off Lee Martin coming to the line.
The photo finish machine got to work out there. Staub got ahead of Sanders. Camden Hibbett got ahead for the race win. There's no front on that thing for Jordy Fike. He still crosses the line ahead of Brian Zabelski. Ian Giebler took the open class win from Lee Martin. River Page just stayed ahead of Andy Cossack. They were both in this pack that you see right here. So Page finishing on the podium in class.
Whew, and impressive stuff up and down the field there, must be said. On the final lap, things got a little spicy through Canada Corner. Things got bumpy and pushing and shoving, but even considering all the drama we had out there today, it was a very clean race.
In racing, it's always never over until it's over, but it's tracks like here in Daytona where you can make a pass for the win between the final corner and the checkered flag, where you just really don't know who's got it in him until that final roll of the dice. Camden Hibbett's winning margin in the end, 0.01 of a second, and then over Joshua Soto. Ronnie Coates in third was less than 1/10 away from the race win as well, as he had a late run and took them 3 wide across the checkered flag. Eugenio Polici finished 4th. Maybe didn't quite have the fuel in the car to mount the charge and an attack on the final lap, but still gets a good result in what was a pretty chaotic race at Road America. Rui Coimbra gets 5th from Michael Chase, Ray Lombardi, David Staub, picking off Tom Sanders late on. Ian Giebler winning open class from Lee Martin, and then came Sean Hayes, Jordy Fike with no front on that car, taking 13th, ahead of Brian Zabelski. River Page, third in open class, then Andy Cossack, Orlando Herald, Charles Vaccaro, and Paulo Coimbra. Odyssey Adams was the last car on the lead lap in 20th. Zeus Dalston, one lap down after the turn 1 dramas. Michael Coates, 4 laps down. Timon Bramley, 4 laps down. 8 laps down, Josh Olsen. And then DNF's Brett Marshall, Tom Ayton, and Mitchell Peake. Yeah, what a race. I'll take a deep breath too.
Yeah, we might need to do a few minutes of yogic breathing after how much we got the hot air flowing in here. But I won't let that stop us. I got Ian Giebler here after an impressive run in the open class. Ian,
I'm not able to hear you if you're talking to me.
Oh, not at all? I'm not sure. I think it's on his
Nothing
end.
Yet.
Okay, well, I'm
on
gonna kick Giebler out of the booth and message him and let him know, and we'll see if we can find our pro class winner. Yeah, that looks like Camden Hibbett. An impressive race from you as well, as you managed to hold off Ronnie Coates and Eugenio behind and time the run on Josh Soto to get the win there.
Yeah, that was incredible there at the end. I side drafted the heck out of Josh Soto there and tried to get away from him so he couldn't do it back to me. But yeah, that was some awesome racing. Most fun I've had all season, I believe. So huge props to Josh Soto. It was an awesome race at the finish. I think I was at the outside just trying to get a good run. I got to go back and look. I forget exactly how I did it, honestly.
Yeah, it was really, really good stuff, and it looked like you two were kind of working together a little bit there towards the end of the race, but no friends on the last lap, right?
Yeah, no, me and Josh tend to work together. We've met in real life. Met him at a WRL race, so we know each other. We tend to work together, but as you said, once we get to the final lap, it's kind of game on, really between anybody, even with actual teammates. Me and Josh kind of have an alliance where we'll try and get each other out and then settle it between the two of us, if that makes sense. And that's definitely what I was trying to do today, even especially during the first stint, just trying to save fuel behind him. And I was trying to save the nose damage for some race photos from HJBC, but I had to push him there at the end.
Yeah, and it did look like that nose was affecting you a little bit. Were you aware that you had that bump on your nose?
I knew it was going to be there once I started pushing him. I don't think it affects, especially a track like this or Daytona where you're in the draft constantly. It doesn't really hurt the car that much. I think it might have cost me a little bit of time in getting back to Josh after we got separated after the incident into turn 5. I don't remember. I think it was Michael Coates and Tim and Bromley, I think. But once we got separated, I think it might have cost me a little. But like I said, at this type of track, it really doesn't matter that nose damage. It's all about whoever has the best mind game into the final corner, really.
Well, the smartest one of all wins the race, and that's Camden today. Great job out there, man.
Thank you. I got to give a quick shout out to my parents, all my partners, Buyers Automotive, Rainier Construction, Team Spirit Custom Trailers, AutoSmarts Radio, Aussie Sales, and Westerville Automotive. Been a huge help this season in the real Spec Miata. Looking forward to, hopefully, if anybody follows the Mazda Spec MX-5 shootout, looking forward to hearing the news on, hopefully good news on that. So yeah, looking forward to next week, I believe Phillip Island, I think.
We'll be pulling for you, man.
Thanks, guys.
And Haynes, I think we might have managed to sort out Ian Giebler's issue, but are you able to hear us there, Ian?
Must be something on my end, guys. Sorry, but it was a very fun race. If you can hear me, battling with Lee Martin there at the end was pretty wild. I didn't qualify as high as I would have liked, so I had some catching up to do. Pits went well. When I cycled back out, I was pretty close to Lee. Him and Sean Hayes were driving around. I caught up to them and then kind of just stayed in the draft for the last couple laps and waited to put on a move. So I think 2 laps left, I was able to get in front of Lee and hold him off. That was super fun, tight racing. And I was beating myself up over the qualifying, and then I looked, and I think like the top 20 were within a second. So there wasn't really too much there.
Well, I'm not sure you can hear us, but we appreciated the show that he put on for us today. Thank you very much, Ian.
All right, Devin, I can't read your lips, but thanks for bringing me back in. Thank you guys for hosting. That was awesome. Can't wait for next round.
Neither can I, Haynes.
Not a talent of mine either. But some talent in driving on show from Spec-5 World Tour at Road America. Cams Inhibit with a genius, but also a little bit lucky, but also a bit genius move on the final lap there to come away with the win with a very, very narrow winning margin of 1/100th of a second. Your top 3 covered by less than a 10th at the end. Ian Giebler we just spoke to there. Coming away with the open class win, but it was competitive for sure in open class. Giebler got the win. Lee Martin was a good chance for a long time there, and River Page made a very, very strong debut with a lot of pace. Just a couple things to work out, but racing is never easy. Great show from both of our classes from round 9 of Spec-5 World Tour. And indeed, next week we go to Phillip Island, another high-speed, slipstream, heavy track. How about Australia's national park of speed? That's not quite what it is, but great track. And John Henry's yacht is moored just off the coast there, if you look, Devon, when we get there. You'll see it here on HJBC. Thank you so much for joining us. Wherever you're watching, make sure you subscribe as we bring you more racing action from the iRacing world, both of the Spec-5 World Tour and the Champ Car iRacing Series this year. And for Spec-5 World Tour, we'll see you in a week's time at Phillip Island. I've been David Haynes with Devon Peters, Michael Derby. See you there.